Hey guys, thank you for joining me for another online yoga practice. Today's class is going to be a total body stretch for flexibility and mobility. We are going to be opening up the soft tissue surrounding the joints to create more space and allow us to go a little bit deeper into the postures. This is perfect for you first thing in the morning if you're feeling a little bit tight, or maybe after a busy day and you just want to get one of those nice juicy stretches. Maybe a couple of blocks will be helpful to your practice today, or a strap, but not necessary. If you have one, then you can bring it along and maybe you'll be able to go a little bit deeper into the postures. So I really hope you enjoy your practice today. Thank you so much for joining me. Namaste. Okay, so we're actually going to start today's total body stretch in a cat-cow position. So we're going to come onto our hands and knees. You want your wrists to be underneath your shoulders, knees to be underneath your hips, feet flat out behind you. And then you want the tops of the feet firmly rooting into the mat. You want your fingers spread nice and wide, grounding into the finger pads. On the inhalation, we come into cow pose. So the crown of the head lifts, chest forward, navel drops down and the tailbone reaches up. As we exhale, we round the spine into cat pose, lift and separating the shoulder blades. Start the movement at the tailbone, we round the spine, and the chin drops down towards the chest, creating space along the back body. Taking a few more of each at your own pace, following the breath. Try to connect to your ocean-like breathing, soft inhalations and exhalations through the nose. And try to see if you can bring the movement into the upper back as much as possible. Try to see if you can kind of separate each vertebrae and isolate the movement through the upper back and the neck a little bit better. We tend to kind of just use the thoracic spine as one unit, and we tend to overcompensate this lack of mobility in the lower back. So try as best you can to bring it into the upper back. Good, and then we're going to come into a revolved cow. So we're going to inhale, reach the right hand up, reach up through those fingertips. Exhale, bring the right arm underneath the left, look towards the right fingertips, pressing through the left hand, keep that elbow up, but keep the shoulder down and away from the ear. Look towards the right fingertips, keep the pelvis nice and level, don't let the hips bounce off to one side. Continue to press through the tops of the feet and keep the hips over the knees. Okay, on the inhalation, press through the left hand, reach up through those right fingertips. Exhale, release the right hand down. Inhale, reach the left fingertips up. Exhale, left arm underneath the right, look to the left fingertips as the left shoulder, the left ear drops down towards the floor. Keep the pelvis level. And take this practice gently, okay? This is designed to get into all those muscles and be a nice juicy stretch. Don't force yourself, don't crank yourself into these poses. It should be a place where you can kind of isolate the stretch and feel where the movements should be happening. So in this case, it should be like the left side body, the back of the left shoulder, the left deltoid. Inhale, reach up, extend, and exhale, release the left hand down, coming into heart melting pose. Bring the hands forward. And then you maybe want to bring them a little bit wider as well, more like mat distance apart. Release the forehead or the chin or the chest down towards either the floor, or if it doesn't comfortably reach, then you can release it down to a block. Remain smooth and calm through the breath. Keep the hips over the knees. Don't let the hips drop back like you would in a child's pose. And you want the forearms to be lifted here, okay? So they're not dropping down. Feel though, as you extend through the fingertips, how much this deepens the stretch around the left side and the right side of the chest. If you wanted to take it a little bit deeper, you can tent the fingers, lift up the inner palms of the hands, getting the stretch to the backs of the arms. Inhale, release the palms down, begin to walk the hands back up, wrists underneath your shoulders. Coming into a tiger pose. So we're going to bend the right knee, lift the foot up towards the sky. So we want the top of the foot towards the sky. We're going to reach back with the left hand. This is a balance. Take a hold of either the top of the foot or the ankle. Okay, working with pressing that foot up towards the sky as if you're reaching. Notice this chest in the this stretch in the left side of the chest and the front of the right thigh. Look forward, stay steady through the breath. One more breath in. Exhale softly, don't catapult, release to a tabletop with the arms extended and then release back down. Good. We'll come into that on the other side. So ground firmly through the left hand and the right knee. Lift the left leg up 90 degrees, top of the foot towards the sky. Reach back with the right hand either for the ankle or the top of the foot. And then extend, really press through the back leg. Imagine that you're trying to really turn on that glute to activate and the hamstring to reach up as we extend that left leg up and back. Look forward. Be gentle with your right shoulder. If it feels sharp or painful, then please modify. One more breath in. And exhale, release, extending the arm long, leg long. And then drop back down to tabletop. Shake out the hips. Good, and then we're going to come into downward facing dog. So bring the palms of the hands forward, about handprint distance, tuck the toes, lift the sit bones up and back. Now we won't be here for too long, we're just going to take this to open up the body a little bit better. One more breath in. Exhale, really press the chest back towards the thighs. Inhale, lift the right leg up high, get a nice juicy stretch. Exhale, step the right foot through to the space between the hands. If you can, you're going to drop the left knee down. If it feels painful, then make sure you support the back knee with a cushion, or you can keep the left leg lifted. Tuck the toes or top of the foot flat towards the floor. We want the right knee to be stacked over the right ankle here, in line with the second and the third toe. So really establishing your foundations, make sure the pelvis is level to the front of the mat. And then we're going to take this into a balance and get a little bit deeper into the left side of the hip. So we're going to interlace the fingers, place them on the top of the right thigh. And you want to really make sure that you're lengthening through the lower back here. So we have a tendency to kind of compress in the lower back to visualize that we're going deeper. But actually it's just the lower back that's taking the brunt of it. So what we want to do is we want to lengthen through the tailbone. You can squeeze that left glute to help you here. Really draw the navel in and up. So we're actually drawing out of the pelvis as opposed to kind of sinking deeper into the pelvis. And you should feel that activates through the left side of the hip. Stay steady, stay strong in that front leg. If your knee goes past the ankle, bring the foot a little bit further in front. Okay, then from here we're going to come into a high lunge position. So tuck the toes under on the back leg, lift the knee up, bring the arms up overhead. Keep that stability in the pelvis, okay? Don't let it rock forward. One more breath in. And then on the exhale, we're going to bring the hands down, begin to straighten that front leg. If the hands don't reach the floor, you can support them with blocks. And we're going to look towards the right big toe. So that front leg is working towards straight. That back heel is lifted. Back heel charging towards the back of the mat. And don't rest your weight on that front leg. We want to stay active and long. We want to imagine that the sit bones are reaching towards the back of the mat as the pelvis is rotating around the head of the right femur. Okay, and then we're going to switch sides. So turn the right toes in, walk the hands round to the left side, drop that right knee down. Okay, top of the foot flat or toes tucked, coming into that low lunge position. Okay, so sinking low into the hips, but extending the spine out from the hips, tailbone reaches towards the floor. Lengthen through the lower back, peel the belly off the front thigh on the inhalation. Exhalation, we allow ourselves to go deeper into the pose. Imagine you're trying to squeeze the inner thighs together, and also imagine that you're trying to really, well, don't imagine, you can squeeze the right glute to help open up through the front side of the right hip. You can interlace the fingers over the top of the thigh and press the arms in, but avoid overdoing it by pressing the arms in and then compressing in the lower back. Okay, so it's a little bit of a back bend, but try to bring the movement into the upper back as opposed to the lower back. One more full breath in. Exhale fully. Inhale, tuck the toes under, lift those hips high, bring the arms up overhead. Don't lose the balance in the pelvis, keep the tailbone lengthening, really switching on the quadriceps here a little bit more. Keep the right glute squeezed. One more breath in. Exhale, bring the hands down to the floor, begin to straighten that left leg, look to the left toe. Okay, so the leg may not reach completely straight, and that's fine. Just work with where you are today. It should feel like a nice deep stretch to the back of the left thigh. Right heel reaches towards the back of the mat. Okay, and then bring the left toes inwards to an angle, bring the right heel down so the toes face in towards each other a tiny bit. Come to center, palms to the floor, shoulder distance apart. Inhale, reach the head high. Exhale, fold forward. So the crown of the head may or may not reach towards the floor, it doesn't matter. All that matters is that we're creating that space within the spine. We're lengthening through each vertebrae. The wrists and the elbows should be shoulder distance apart. And make sure the elbows are drawing back behind you as opposed to out to the sides. Keep those sit bones nice and high. Stay active through the fronts of the legs to help release the hamstrings. And keep the shoulder blades away from the ears. Inhale. Look forward, arms straight, head up. And then as we exhale, we're going to heel toe the feet together. Well, to about mat distance apart, so a little bit wider than hips distance apart. Toes face outwards, and then we're going to sink the hips low, coming into Garland Pose. So you may need to readjust here. If your heels don't reach the floor, you can roll up the mat or place a blanket underneath the heels for support. If they do reach the floor, then I recommend that you bring the palms together at the heart center, reaching the thumbs for the sternum and the sternum reaching towards the thumbs. Try to lengthen out the pelvis again, okay? So avoid kind of rounding. Lengthen, imagine that the spine is drawing out of the pelvis, the sit bones are reaching down towards the floor as opposed to tucking forward, okay? So they're reaching long and the shoulders are away from the ears. You can use a little bit of the strength of the arms to help open the inner thighs a little bit, but don't force it, okay? We're just working with the gentle open to the inner thighs and the hips. This is also a deep stretch for the ankles, so be mindful of that. If you need to support your feet by rolling up a blanket or placing, I've seen these little wedge blocks, they can be quite useful for support of the underneath of the feet. Breathe smoothly, breathe fluidly. One more full breath in. Exhale, we're just going to sit the hips back, bring the hands to the back behind you, and then we're going to bring the legs out wide. So comfortably wide for you, don't force sort of opening up to like a middle splits or anything. We want to be able to keep the knees and the toes facing up towards the sky. So bring the hands to the outside of the hips. You can tent the fingers here as we inhale. And then as we exhale, press through the fingertips and then begin to hinge forward. So that may not look like much for you. You may just be working with gently opening here. But over time, as we get a little bit more open, maybe you can press your hands forward enough that you can drop down to the forearms, or maybe rest your forehead down to the floor. Make sure that the toes and the knees continue to face up towards the sky and they don't collapse in. Breathe smoothly, breathe fluidly. Use the breath as a gauge as well. With the inhales, we get taller, we lengthen the spine out of the pelvis. And as we exhale, we allow ourselves to surrender a little bit deeper. If you find that you're having to use your core in order to get down here, you feel like your abdominals are really switched on to help you go further forward, that's an indication that the pelvis isn't yet able to open up enough to rotate over the heads of the femurs. So what that means is that your lower back is going to be taking the strain, not the hamstrings. I recommend that you work with instead just finding a nice tall spine as opposed to folding forward if that is the case. Take one more breath in. Exhale fully. Inhale, walk the hands back up. A nice little lift at the top. We're going to come into a side stretch. So draw the right knee in towards the chest. Bring the sole of the right foot to the left inner thigh. Okay, bring the left hand to the inside of the left shin to start with. Inhale, reach up through those right fingertips. Exhale, side bend over towards the left. So you can look up if it feels good on the neck. And then over time, maybe you can go a little bit deeper to take a hold of the foot, but don't force it. We instead want to be able to spiral the chest up. You don't want to be kind of collapsing into almost a forward fold. You want to be feeling it in the lower back, right side of the waist, and the right ribs. Inhale, we come all the way back up to center. Take a lift at the top, moving into a hamstring stretch, heron pose. Bring the left leg towards the midline. Nice generous bend to the knee as we interlace the fingers over the back of the foot, so the sole of the foot. If you have a strap as well, this could be really useful here. Lift the heel up, sit back on the sit bones, and then begin to extend the leg towards straight, looking towards the toe. Okay, you want to begin to use the strength of the arms to draw that leg closer towards towards you. But you don't want the shoulders to be up by the ears. You want to keep them dropped down and away. Stay tall through the spine. Avoid collapsing through the lower back. You want to be rolling forward onto the tops of the sit bones as opposed to rolling back to the back of the pelvis. Take one more breath in. Exhale. Drop the left knee down, bring the right foot out to that wide leg position, left heel towards the groin, left toes towards the right inner thigh. Taking that side stretch. Start by bringing the right hand to the inside of the right shin. Inhale, reach up through the left fingertips. Exhale, side bend over towards the right. So don't collapse into the shoulders, stay nice and open by spiraling the little finger of the left hand towards the floor. You can use the back of the right arm to press into the leg, and you'll find that that helps you rotate the chest up towards the sky. And then over time, maybe you can reach a little bit deeper towards the foot. Stay smooth through the breath. Feeling the stretch in the outside, lower left waist. Inhale, come back up through center, reach up, take a lift at the top. Bring that right knee towards the midline, bend, interlace the fingers around the sole of the foot, or take the strap, and then work that leg in the direction of straight. It doesn't have to reach straight, you can just work with where you are today. But try to lengthen the spine, try to root down through the sit bones, and then find that lift expanding outwards from the sit bones. You can use a little bit of the strength of the arms to draw that leg in, but if you're feeling already a deep stretch in the hamstring, I recommend that you don't overuse it. Especially with forceful postures like this, if you overdo it, you can end up tearing the insertion point towards the sit bones, and that can be incredibly painful. One more breath in. Exhale, release down. Good. And then crossing at the knees, or shins, sorry, I should say. Right leg in front of left. Inhale to lengthen the spine. Exhale, we're going to begin to hinge forward. So you can bring the arms out long in front of you like you would for a child's pose, or you can just cross the forearms in front of you, drop the head down. Just start with grounding through the sit bones. So if you're up here working with this is going to be a far more beneficial stretch than rounding through the spine, trying to force the head down. You want to keep the navel drawn in. Make sure that you've got this almost like a corset feeling of the core muscles surrounding the lower back to prevent it from rounding. One more breath in. Exhale. Inhale, walk the hands back up. Cross the legs the other way, so the other shin in front. Inhale, lengthen the spine. Exhale, begin to gently tip forward. So you may feel different on this side, that's fine. Don't force it. So we work the left hip. Ultimately, we want to be focusing on smoothing the inhales and the exhales. Softening the breath, softening the jaw. Inhale, walk the hands back up. Good, and then we're going to come down to rest in our Shavasana. So bring the legs wide, bring the arms alongside the body, palms face up. Soften through the body. Feel heavy, feel supported by the earth. Maybe you feel a gentle tingling in the body as we've worked all of these muscles, we've stretched and lengthened more. It's always a good feeling after we've done a flexibility practice. We feel far more open and receptive. And I think accepting of what the world has to offer us. So let yourself surrender now fully to the experience of your rest, your Shavasana. Feel heavy, solid, and calm. Allow your natural smooth breath to flow in and out through the nose, down into the navel. Any thoughts, any stories that crop up, just let them pass. Don't latch onto them. Stay present and calm in the body, the breath, and the mind. I recommend you stay in your Shavasana for as long as you have the time for today. As you go forward, I wish you peace in your thoughts, peace in your words, peace in your heart. Namaste.